Okay, back again. This time, as you can see, or hopefully you can see with these bad camera angles, going to be doing a bit of work on this again. This time, I'll be putting in this here, which is, I think it comes from the Atari Max side. It's the MyIde internal upgrade, which you can see is the IDE, and the socket to plug in where the OS ROM goes. Anyways, I'll keep that back in here for the moment, because something I'll be adding later on will be, which I should show in another video, is got myself one of these. That's a zip drive, 100 meg zip drive, which I'm putting into a case I've got, which will be out of frame. You'll be seeing that later. But this time, I'm just going to be getting the internal upgrade in here. So anyways, let's see. Oh, and I might as well show you, I've got some new, come here, a desoldering gun, which I've just tried a bit last night. I'm still getting used to it, so hopefully I won't have any troubles. And also, a thing I had avoided for a long time, which is a fume extractor, which is basically just a fan with a filter pad in the front, draws air through, and it actually, I've used that a few times here in the past couple of weeks, and it does work reliably well. So anyways, I'll get the camera back here for a second. Get this lined up a little bit better. Get you the best view I can, hopefully. So anyways, yeah. Jeez, okay, I gotta get some. And I gotta get this. I really got to get this table sorted out. See, so I can keep stuff better organized, because it's gotten to be real crowded and messy. So anyways, let's get started on this thing. And of course, gotta get all these screws out, and there'll be more on the inside. And I always make a point of keeping all my screws in one of those little magnetized metal bowls like that right there, so always stay in one place and they're not rolling off the table into nobody knows where. Yeah. Another thing I think I'll do while I've got the case open is do the Super Video Mod version 2, which something Ben Pullen had come up with in the early 90s. A friend I used to know in a user group had a subscription to that magazine, so he had an original copy of it. Where's that? Take that out of here. Oh yes. This is Atari Classics. It's the, what, December '93 edition, which I found, I think, on the Internet Archive and printed out the PDF. And that actually is a good magazine, even beyond that one particular article. Another thing I'll have to do is take out that RF shield here, the top cover, which I think I may not record it, but I may put some, where is it? I may put some of that Super Shield, it's a conductive paint sort of thing, which this is MG Chemicals. They're not sponsoring me, but they do make good stuff. And they're here in Canada, so I'll mask this off and probably do some of the inside of that in here, so because I do some ham radio stuff, and I'd like to get using these old computers for some of the ham radio stuff, like some packet radio and decoding, like weather facts and decoding RTTY and stuff, which is another thing. I think it was Star Magazine had a weatherfax decoder in one of their issues back in late 80s, early 90s sometime. And actually I did put some effort into this, which was actually last year now, as of recording this, from when I did some restoration on the RF shield to cut down on the rust, and I put some rust proof paint on it, which you can see there. I did record a video on that. I can't remember if I put in anything about the rust proofing or not, but anyways, that video hopefully should be up and viewable by the time this one goes live, which I am at this point quite behind on getting my video is done, which you will have seen. I've got quite a long gap with only one video up, which had originally just been unlisted because I was showing one person and was helping to decipher a problem I had on my 800XL, which wasn't powering up properly, or, well, the power did work, but it wasn't booting from the ROMs properly or operating properly, because it was turned out to be the delay IC on there, which I did end up replacing. But anyways, that was my first well, not my original first, but the first one getting back into 8-bits after everything I had previously had disappeared, which is a euphemism for, well, you can figure it out. Anyways, that was just my deciding on making sure it's on okay. But yeah, I may do, this may become a two-parter video, doing the mod to the IDE mod to do this, and then also to get my super video mod in, and of course I will end up having to put in this socket, which Stephen Tucker, who runs the Atarimex, I did include a socket because a whole bunch of XCs, including this one here, which I've got, have literally no sockets for any of the parts, which you can hopefully see. Well, except for these two, which are, I think that's the CPU, and can't remember what else. Okay, it's not the PIA, that's this one, and the Freddy's down here, and that, it's in this section here, but yeah. One of these, I think it's this one, the NCR, that one's I think it's the 6502. Ah, jeez, bit of dust in there, which is annoying. But yeah, I'm gonna get the, this done, and I may have you on fast forward a bit while I'm working on this, because you may get a bit bored if it turns into like a 2.5 hour video, which and plus I tend to not make detailed how-to videos. More like, my videos are more like, this is the stuff I'm into because I like doing it, and other than the odd tip or trick here and there, the only how-to in my videos is most anybody can learn how to do this stuff for themselves, and probably maybe save a bit of money, hopefully, and also hopefully save a bit of time. But yeah, so I may have a second video, which I think I just mentioned, but a second part of this video with doing the super video mod, which will actually be a separate part after this, so I can, even though the 3 Atari 8-bits I have, this one, the video on this one is the best. It's just the stock video hardware that's on the PCB or the main board as it is. is the one you've probably seen in another video from 2 or 3 years ago. Those are, one of them has that one has an ultimate 1 megabyte, which also replaces the OS ROM, which is how it loads its onboard ROMs into place, which actually can load in any one of 4 basic ROM replacements. And I made a mistake. Oriented around the wrong way, so because the IDE connector's got to go around the back, which is actually handy, so I can pass the ribbon cable out over the back this way, just above the cartridge and ECI. So I want to make sure I didn't bend any of these pins out of place, so I can. One of them does have a slight bend, but because I want to have the IDE towards the back, and this pin header, which connects to this, towards the front, which I'll do after I get it into the socket the right way around. And of course, as I mentioned, the LED connector here, I'll check that off the camera and see if I can use that. I might drill a hole in the front or the side for an activity LED. Even though the zip drive has that anyways, but having it over here would be handy. So back in a second again, I gotta make sure I get the orientation on this done the right way. Yeah, so the red wire goes on the right, and the white on the left, which is kind of handy, which is the same color scheme as a stereo audio out in most AV equipment. Also on asterisk, actually right where my dental clip is, and it's so small it's very hard to see. Which on the website will, we did a good thing on the website, which allows for a whatever. Anyways, I'm going to put you on pause for a second, so I can take this into the other room and plug it in. So, back in a second. Okay, view ain't perfect, but I'm going to power it up, and we'll see together if this thing's working. Well, looks like it isn't, so I'll gotta figure something out here. Try that one more time. And yeah, that ain't working, so. Well, Okay, well, the plot thickens, and I'll bring you back for the next segment of the video where I'll figure out what's going on with this thing. Okay, back again. And it didn't take me too long to find the problem. I soldered the wire on to pin 15 instead of, or actually on the, yeah, it's pin 15 instead of 14 on the 74LS138. So I've gone and fixed that. And now I'll just plug this thing in just out of the way here, and I haven't got the case on it or anything like that or anything else plugged in. Oh, wait. I don't know if you saw that, but try it again. Yes. Well, you can see that there. MyIde 4.3i, wait for IDE. So the board is working, and obviously it's just doing a reset because I haven't got the drive hooked up yet, but the board is working. So anyways, that's it for this video, and coming up soon I'll be putting the zip drive in its case, and also adding the opening on the case, the 130XE case, to add in the pass-through for the cable. So see you in the next video. Okay. Just gonna part of the video where I'm just going to be doing some of the work to pass this cable. This is the IDE cable I got for the MyIde internal. Anyways, let's see. I have to lay this out flat overnight with something on it, but anyway. Basically the cable's going to plug in like this. And let's see. Basically, I'm just going to make a notch right along here, and going to have to make a mark here on the other side. I do like buying from them, but the problem is all those tariffs. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, there's my very rough marks. Let's see. Well, I'm gonna have to get out my friendly neighborhood Dremel. And let's see. I'm gonna have to find a bit. Cutting the vertical, kind of making these vertical cuts is not going to be a problem, but horizontally, maybe. I think this little cutting wheel here would do the best, so get that on there. I really should get out that extra little bin of bits and collets that I have, but it's in a little bin on the other side of the room, and I just don't feel like digging it out when this is going to do the job okay. And I'm going to do some eyeballing, which is always a risk, but yeah, come to think of it, I'm not sure if that's quite long enough, but I'll see if I have an extension cable to make that longer, so my drive, which I still haven't put together yet, make sure this is plugged in. And I'll probably put you on mute while I do this. Maybe insert a little bit of music. Or the NoobTube friendly, copyright free music. Okay. Well, I got it in, so I'll stick my main board in there for the XE, and yeah, so it's a little bit wider than I need, which is okay. I don't know, somebody who might be watching this might be having a screaming hissy fit that I cut a hole in the back of the case and be going, oh, it's not original! You and its resale value, and you won't get so much on eBay, and all that crap. Well, these ain't getting sold on eBay, because I'm no scalper. The reason I'm putting this in is so I can have a more usable system with a metric ton of storage on with this thing and a bunch of cartridges. I got about 6 or 7 of them, which are over that way on the back of the table underneath a big pile of junk that I really need to sort through. Anyways, what they'll do, which I'll do if the camera's not running, is I will sand this out a bit, and I've got some of those cuticle boards. I'm having a look for them here. I got them here somewhere in my tray of my equally gnarly tray of stuff. Like here's one. Yeah, this should do okay. Yeah, these little, I guess they call them cuticle boards or emery boards, or I just call them cheap nail files. I got a bunch of these at the dollar store. Actually, I got a whole package more of them at the dollar store recently, which will do a reasonable job of sanding this down. So, and of course I can use my equally friendly, neighborly X-Acto knife as well. So, anyways, I'll put you on pause and back in a second when I'm ready for the next step. Here we go again. Anyways, as you can see, I've got the top of the case all masked off because I am going to be using some of this MG Super Shield, I guess RF blocking paint, which is basically just a matte gray paint with some nickel coating in it. And I'm just going to do the inside of the case here. Actually, I'll start on one end there. Actually, and I'm not sure I thought this through entirely well, but Hopefully I don't get too much on the top side. Anyways, that should be enough, so I'll give that overnight to dry and into tomorrow. Probably by late tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening. It should be dry enough. Of course, that'll just be a second or so for you. So, anyways, I'll see you in a second. Okay, we're at the end of the video now, and as you've just seen, I didn't record all of the process of applying the RF shielding paint on the inside of the case, just the beginning of it. And that and the rest of this video was recorded several months ago because, well, I got interrupted by other projects, some of which you've seen already in the previous few weeks. And next, you'll be seeing a video of me building up the case and connections and everything for the zip drive, which will connect through here to the IDE interface that you saw me putting in here, which was several months ago. So some people might say I'm a slacker, like do the whole Strickland thing.
You've got a real attitude problem, McFly. You're a slacker. You remind me of your father when he went here. He was a slacker, too.
But anyways, that's it for now, and soon you'll see the other video of, like I just said, the zip drive going in. So, see you next time.